Hey there! So let's first talk about the location of the wedding because you have to have that decided and figured out before you can start scheduling and booking your vendors. So, location-wise, are you deciding to go with a destination wedding or are you deciding to stick with a conventional wedding around where you live? There are so many factors that go into this, so many conversations that go into this. So we're just going to break it down a little bit for you. So like I mentioned earlier in the course, there are many options of destination wedding locations. So this could be a destination similar to a resort or a beach destination wedding. This could be a destination wedding in the sense that you're just having the wedding in a completely different state than where you live. You might be traveling or driving a significant amount of hours away from where you live. That is still considered a destination wedding. Just because you aren't familiar with the area, you aren't familiar with vendors where the destination wedding's happening. So that is going to affect who you book for vendors. Obviously, you wouldn't be booking a vendor from your hometown if you are going to be having your wedding at a resort or in the mountains if you live across the country from the mountains. So I say all of that because you have to have it figured out and decided where you're going to be having the wedding before you can start scheduling with vendors. So if it's a destination wedding, what type of destination wedding is it? Is it at a resort? Is it in the woods, at a cabin in the mountains? Are you just renting a really nice Airbnb for your wedding? I know one of my best friends, she actually rented an Airbnb in Colorado, and it was a large house and it hosted her small intimate wedding. So she had a guest list of maybe 50 people. And so there was a big, huge great room area with windows, and that's where the reception was. And she had the wedding outside of the Airbnb down in the grassy area. So you could even have something like that. Now, there are so many locations that you could have for your wedding ceremony and venue for your reception. Keep in mind, there are definitely locations and venues that host weddings, the ceremony and the reception. So I've been to a ceremony and reception in one location where they had the ceremony out by these beautiful rocks. They had archway and pedestals and stairs leading up to it with a waterfall fountain behind them. And then you walk inside the building and there were rooms for the bridal party to get ready in, as well as a massive area for the dance and dinner. So there are definitely event locations that can host you for both. So that may be something you want to take into consideration if you're like, I don't really want to split up the ceremony location from the venue location. There are ways that you don't have to actually do that. So I've heard of weddings hosted in ballrooms, of course, in churches, on the beach, even in castles, at country clubs, on the farm, a golf course, at a hotel, at a park, at a resort, on the rooftop of a building, or even like under those large white tents. I've heard it all. So there are no limits to where you could decide to have your wedding. Definitely, I would suggest scheduling a time to see the venue because it's important to get a layout or idea for the layout. I know I asked to see the church and I asked to see the reception venue because I was going to be planning a wedding from a distance and I hadn't been to those locations before. So we had our wedding in Indiana. So while I was back in Indiana for Christmas with my fiance at the time, I was able to schedule times to see the church and the wedding reception venue. And it was so much nicer because I had a visual and could picture where things would go and knew the layout of the venue. So I recommend doing that for sure. I do want you to know that for venues, it is a lot cheaper to rent these venues on weekdays, even Friday nights compared to Saturdays. Sundays are even cheaper in some instances. So the Saturday booking is the most expensive. I just want you to know that. I know that it's so common to have weddings on Saturdays, but there are becoming more outliers to that. So I have gotten a wedding invite even within the last week for a wedding coming up on a Friday night. And James and I are going to a wedding in September. That is a weekday wedding. So it's not totally uncommon. You can save a chunk of change having a wedding on a weekday or even a Friday, even on a Sunday. So don't count that out. Maybe that allows you to get your dream venue for a lower cost. So that's always an option. I will say from experience, for picking a location for your wedding, it is so much easier to plan a wedding in the bride's hometown. That is not what I did, so I found out the hard way. And it turned out beautiful. Like, I'm so glad we did it in Indiana. But it is really difficult, or more challenging, I should say, planning a wedding not in the bride's hometown. So for example, my parents actually rented a van and drove the van full of decorations from Nebraska to Indiana. Obviously, the bride is normally in charge of buying all the decorations, or the bride's parents are in charge of buying all the decorations. And anyway, just know that you're going to have to transport all those decorations and items, clothing racks, steamer. Like, my mom and dad brought all of that, bless their heart. And you're going to have to transport that. So that was an extra cost on our end to transport everything to Indiana for our wedding. So it's also more difficult having the wedding at a distance, not in the bride's hometown, because you can't see the venues or you can't set up tastings as easily. It was more challenging because obviously my mom didn't even live in Indiana, so we were doing everything at a distance. And I just want you to know that and have that in the back of your mind in case you're like, no, I'm not up for that. So a few questions that I want you guys to ask yourself as well as your fiance, so you get a better idea of what you're picturing for the location of the wedding. Chat amongst yourselves. Do you want a single venue for the ceremony and the reception? Or would you prefer a separate ceremony and reception location? So we had our wedding at a church, and then we drove about 5-10 minutes to a reception location. Do you envision having your wedding indoors or outdoors? This is going to drastically change the location of your wedding, obviously. And if you're having it outdoors, is there sufficient parking? Do you have maybe a tent that you're going to have for your guests to sit under, and especially considering it might be in the middle of the summer? Is it important to us that our ceremony occurs in a church? Maybe you for sure want your wedding in a church. That will affect your decision of the location, obviously. Are we flexible with our wedding date based on a certain venue's availability? Or is our date in concrete and we'll have to find a venue that is available on our date? That's important because there may be venues that are already booked a year in advance for the date that you're wanting, especially in prime wedding season, which is the summer and sometimes spring and fall. So just be aware of that. Is there anything about a venue that would disqualify a location? Maybe a lack of parking, or if it's too small, or maybe what we just talked about, maybe it's booked on your date and you do not want to change your wedding date, so that would cancel out the possibility of that specific venue. Is there anything specific we have envisioned in terms of a wedding venue? So maybe for the reception, you picture a grand entrance on a spiral staircase. If that wedding reception venue doesn't have that, then that might be a no-go for you. But that's just a really random example. Let's see, does this venue allow us to have influence over the design, logistics, and arrangements of the day? Is this important to us? So can you have input over what is maybe on the stage or what can get removed from the stage? What is the vibe or theme that we want for our wedding? Does this potential venue reflect this theme? So if your theme is more like rustic chic, but everything in the venue is more like modern, contemporary, or even like very formal and chandeliers and like rhinestones, like all those themes are so different. So that might be hard to implement the theme that you're wanting. That's why it's important to schedule a time to go look at the venues. And do any of our family members or friends have property that we could use instead of renting a traditional venue? So I went to a wedding a few years ago that was amazing. The groom's family had a ranch, and so on their ranch they had a forest. What they did was they cleared out a path through the forest to get to the middle of the forest, and they lined the path with like twine, with Christmas lights as well, and photos hanging from the twine of the couple. It felt like an enchanted forest. It was so pretty. And then right in the middle of the forest, they cleared out a space for seating, and it was so fun. And obviously they didn't have to pay to rent a venue. And then they had the reception on their lawn, so they had flooring, rented flooring, and then they had lights strung above it. It was so beautiful and so awesome, and they didn't have to pay to rent a venue. So maybe you have a family member or friend that has property like this that you could use, and they had great parking. So always keep that in the back of your head as well. But with a location, just make sure that you love it, because it will be in all of your wedding photos, and then it will affect the visual aesthetics of your photos. But I hope this helps you brainstorm a little bit. I know there are a lot of factors that go into deciding where the wedding is going to be at, but I wanted to at least spark your brain and spark your thoughts to start figuring out where you want the location to be, because this may affect if you're bringing in a pastor for it, if they're able to get away from their church and fly to your wedding. There are just a lot of logistics that go behind it. Or maybe you have a photographer that you're wanting to fly in for it. They would have to block out a certain amount of time on their schedule, and maybe they already have shoots planned where they can't get away. So it's best to obviously get your date figured out and get the location figured out, and then start bringing in vendors after that. So it's important to start figuring out your location, brainstorm, chat with your fiance, and get that detail figured out, and then you can start scheduling all of the vendors.
Beyond that, y'all, we don't just do life and relationship videos. We have our bonus Fridays where we put up life and relationship videos. We feel led to do a Friday video. But also, if you go to jamesandjazz.com, click on that videos tab, it'll scroll you down to 3 different sections of videos that we film. We do spiritual videos on Monday, where we've done topical stuff. Right now, we're actually doing a Bible study with all the book of James. Now we're in the book of John. Then we'll go into another book and so on and so forth as we feel led. So I think you'll really enjoy some of the spiritual videos that we have, and it'll help you to grow spiritually. We want to help you to grow mentally, spiritually, and physically.
And relationally.
Which leads me to the second topic, is physically fit videos. And we're trying to help you to get in shape, to work out. If you're planning for a wedding, you still got to get those workouts in. That'll help you to have more energy and just feel better about yourself. So whatever you're doing in life, it's so important to do your body a favor and work out. And I know that a lot of people don't have a lot of time. Maybe you don't want to drive to the gym. Well, we've done a lot of stuff right here at the house in our studio here. We've done workouts with dumbbells, workouts with resistance bands, cardio in place. We've done a little bit of kettlebell stuff. So we're showing you how you can work out at home with the equipment that you have. They are full-length workouts, so you work out with us, and then there's also instructional videos where we show you the exercises quickly. You can take notes and do it on your own time. but I think that these videos will bless you. And then on our final section, our final tab when you click on videos is at Life and Relationships. As I said already, that is our bonus Friday videos where we talk about what's going on in our life, which the wedding was going on in our lives, and that also relates to relationship stuff. So Life and Relationships is a great tab as well. We have our How We Met video in that section, and a lot of other different stuff. We have our wedding, we have our proposal, bachelorette party, all that different stuff. So you guys can learn a little bit about us and what we've done in life. And beyond that, when you're on our homepage, just if you scroll to the top of the bottom, you're going to see our social media links. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, be sure to follow and like, and YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. And when you scroll to the bottom of the page, you're going to see our subscribe to our email list. Encourage you to do that so you can see when new courses come out, because I think she's thinking about working on new courses.
Yes.
And you can also, on the bottom of that homepage, you can book us to come and speak at speaking engagement. We speak at chapels, at Christian schools, and maybe you want us to come and put on a workout somewhere, or speak at a Christian retreat, whatever it may be.
Or
a conference. Yeah, we would love to do that. So just send us the details in the book us section. And anything I'm missing, my love?
Yeah, if you would like to partner with us, we would appreciate all of your prayer for our ministry. And then you can also partner with us financially if you feel led. No obligation, but on our website, jamesandjazz.com, there's a tab up at the top that says donate, and it instructs you on how you can donate via PayPal, Patreon, or Venmo. So thank you. Every little bit helps. And yeah, we love you guys, and we hope that this video encourages you to plan the wedding of your dreams stress-free to your dream man, and it's going to be great. Enjoy.
All right,
love you
take
guys.
her easy, y'all.